kids.
He's only fucking with the guy and pretending that the girl's getting them all right.
Yeah, he's... yeah, he's clearly got something that he's trying to get going there. But he does that. He does all that stuff in Dana Barrett's apartment, in Sigourney Weaver's apartment, and it's just watching it again in prep for the show. She so clearly knows that he's full of shit.
She even calls him out, where she's like, "Well, maybe you're not using your equipment correctly, or something." Because even before she even meets him and she sees the commercial, she just sort of turns it off.
Yeah.
And she's just like, what is this bullshit? And then...
It's the "we're ready to believe you" commercial.
Yeah.
Where it's all stilted.
Yeah.
It's like how they're delivering their lines is all stilted.
It was kind of true to how, I guess, infomercials used to be, you know, where they're just like super cheesy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it works because it's so low tech, which, you know, makes sense because they blew all their money in trying to start the business, that they wouldn't have good money to make a commercial. So it's just, you know, it's really just lo-fi. But he's even when he's done inspecting the apartment, Venkman, he's trying to talk about how he's madly in love with her, and she's just like pushing him out the door. Can't get rid of him fast enough. So it cuts to a scene where they're sitting around, they're eating dinner, and he's talking about, hey, we need to take Dana Barrett out to dinner. We need to keep her. You know, we don't want to lose her as a client. And it's clear, like, they have zero money left for anything. Ray blew a lot of the money on the car. That becomes their Ecto-1. He's like, oh yeah, you know, it was a bargain. I got it for this, but it needs new shocks, it needs new tires, it needs, you know, new engine, transmission, all this. And it's like, you know, $5,000, $6,000. So, while they're eating dinner, they finally get a call, like a real legit call, to go take care of a ghost. And it's at a fancy hotel downtown. And that's when you see, you know, the debut of the Ecto-1 all tricked out. And they drive up to the hotel. And now the hotel is my absolute favorite scene in the movie, because it's so funny, and there's good action in it too. But just they get this call to go to the hotel. You figure they would be discreet, but they're all dressed up. They're all in their gear. As soon as they walk through the door, Venkman says, "Hey, anybody see a ghost?" Just yelling it out in the middle of the lobby. Something that the hotel manager is obviously trying to keep quiet. He walks in, he says, "Hey, anyone see a ghost?" There's a lady that walks by, and Murray just like gives her the side eye as she walks by. And then the manager comes up behind him, and like Murray's like startled by it. he gets scared by the manager like coming up behind him like that. And he walks through, and the guy's telling him, "Oh, you know, we've had complaints. You know, the staff knows about the 12th floor. I guess they've had paranormal stuff happen on the 12th floor before, but they haven't had anything in a long time. So, you know, he called these guys, and he says, you know, I trust you guys will be discreet." Meanwhile, they're making a big ruckus walking to the door. They got all their gear and everything. So he says, "Yeah, we'll go upstairs. We'll check it out." And they get to the elevator, and there's a guy waiting in the elevator, or waiting for the elevator he's in the lobby waiting for the elevator. And the guy looks him up and down and asks him if they're supposed to be cosmonauts, because they got, you know, the backpacks on and everything. Mm-hmm. he says, no, we're exterminators. Someone saw a cockroach up on 12. And the guy's looking at him, and he says, oh, that must be some cockroach. And Murray just looks at him and says, bite your head off, man. And they go to get in the elevator. And the guy's like, oh, I'll get the next one. And then they get in, and, Ray Stantz is saying, it's too bad that we didn't have a chance to properly field test the equipment before we use it. I blame myself. And Venkman says, what's to worry about? Each of us is wearing an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back. Ray says, okay, switch me on. So they switch him on, and there's that big loud hum.
Mm-hmm.
And then Egon and Venkman casually move to the back away from him and move to the side of the elevator because they're scared because of the backpack humming. They think it's going to explode or something. So they get out. They're looking around. The maid startles them, and they shoot at the maid.
Yeah, they just turn around and rapid fire at her, mess up her cart,
blows up the cart. Everything is on fire, and then they're like, "Oh, sorry." And then they says, "Hey, we should split up." And Bingham says, "Yeah, we can do more damage that way." So they split up. Ray's looking around. Venkman's looking around. Egon's got his what was that? The little handheld device.
Oh,
I forget what it's called now.
Yeah, I forget what the device is called, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's got the two little arms that go up.
The little detector.
Yeah. He runs into the guy, and he is checking him. He's reading him, and then he touches him to see if he's really there.
Yeah. It's a good example of what you're saying, that kind of deadpan humor that he brings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He touches him. Is the guy for real? And then Ray's smoking a cigarette, and he comes around the corner and he sees Slimer. And he does the funny thing where his mouth goes wide, but the cigarette just kind of hangs there.
Yeah.
On his lip, which I read was just a happy accident. It was supposed to fall. His mouth goes wide. The cigarette should have fallen out of his mouth, but because of the saliva, it just kind of sticks to his lip. So he sees it, and then he tries to shoot at it. And he misses, blows a hole in the wall, and then the Slimer and the food cart, smashes into the wall. So Venkman comes around the corner too, sees him, and then Ray calls him. Or no, he calls Ray and says, "Oh, I see the ghost," and Ray's like, "Oh, I saw it. I missed him, but he's an ugly little guy, right?" And Venkman says, "Oh, I think he can hear you." And then the Slimer turns and chases him. And Venkman just screams, and then you can see Ray running down the hall trying to get him. And then that's when it cuts to Venkman just on the floor, just completely covered in slime. And then they call Egon, and Egon's like, "Oh, that's great. Save some for me." And then they have him in the ballroom. Egon says, "Come on down to the ballroom. We've got him down here." So they're going into the ballroom. They lock the manager out. They say, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of this." They lock the manager out. And then it's just completely this more destruction is happening. He's floating up by the chandelier. They shoot the chandelier. The whole chandelier comes smashing down. And all the while, it keeps cutting to outside the ballroom, and the manager is standing there, and there's supposed to be a party. in the ballroom, and there's just them standing outside, and you can just hear things smashing and exploding. And then Egon shoots at him and misses, shoots at him behind the bar, blows up the bar. Then he has the lesson where it's, hey, don't cross the streams. They say why, it would be very bad, but he doesn't explain why. And Venkman has to prompt him. He's like, hey, I'm fuzzy on the whole good bad thing. Bad how? And Egon says, imagine life as you know it, stopping instantaneously, and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light. And Ray says, a total protonic reversal. And Murray's like, okay, that makes sense. Even though it's clear like it kind of went over his head. But he's like, okay, that's a good lesson. And then they make the plan to trap it. And Ray throws down the trap and says, okay, I need you to hit it. Points at Venkman, I need you to hit it, and then Spangler. So Ray, they're going to trap the ghost. Ray throws the trap. Venkman's got it, and Spangler comes in and loops it as well. And then Ramus says, hey, shorten your stream, I don't want my face burned off. And then it has that shot of Murray holding the proton pack, and then, like, the sparks shoot out of it, out of their gun. And then Ray throws the trap and says, okay, I'm opening the trap, don't look at the trap. And then Ramus immediately goes, I looked at the trap, Ray. So then they catch the ghost, and then just as the manager, opens up the door after hearing all this destruction, Bill Murray comes out, says the famous line, we came, we saw, we kicked its ass, which I don't think was the original line. We should say that a lot of the lines in this movie, especially the Murray lines, are ad-libbed.
Mm-hmm.
They're not what was originally written. And, it works. It works so much better. But he comes out... I wish I remembered what the line was. But he comes out, says that, and then the second take is the one where he says, we came, we saw, we kicked its ass. And then they start writing up the bill. Ray's holding the trap is completely smoking. And Bill Murray takes out the ledger to write up the bill. And you can see Egon. It's real subtle by Ramus, but Egon's like holding up his fingers to kind of like indicate how much they should charge the guy. And it's clear that they're overcharging him because they have no money and this is their first client. So as he's writing up the bill, he says, yeah, we're, for entrapment and storage, it's going to be, 4,000. You can see Ramus kind of holding up 4 on his cheek. And he's like, oh yeah, but you're in luck. We're running a special this month on, he lists, he has a whole laundry list of the things they're running a special on. And you can see Ramus like kind of tap his nose with like one finger up. He's like, and that'll run an additional $1,000. And then the manager's like, oh, I'm not $5,000. I won't pay that. That's preposterous. And he says, oh, we can put them right back. Isn't that right? And Ray goes to dump them back in the ballroom, and then the guy freaks out and says, no, we'll pay. So that was my breakdown of that hotel scene, which is my favorite scene in the movie because there's just so many great bits.
What makes it all the more funnier is that they completely destroy the hotel.
Oh yeah, they did a ton of damage up on the 12th floor, and then that ballroom is completely fucked when they're done with it. Yeah, they completely destroyed that ballroom, and they still have the nerve to charge them some outrageous fee.